I was watching Veritas's response to John Armstrong the other day when all of a sudden he made this peculiar comment. Whoops, I didn't mean that comment. I meant this one.
Let's say I'm in fact wrong about my view on morality. Well, this wouldn't mean that my view is meaningless.
The reason why I find this comment peculiar is because he almost seems to be borrowing, let's just say, atheist capital in order for this comment to even make sense. However, what really got my interest and the reason why I'm making this video is because of this comment.
Given my worldview and given my particular conception of God, God is the greatest possible being. And part of being the greatest possible being is being morally perfect, being the standard of good, being the paradigm of virtue.
This comment was made in reference to John Armstrong's hypothetical, in which there's a dictator who's controlling a city, and anything that this dictator says must be right because he can enforce it. To put it simply, where Veritas goes with this comment is basically saying, the tried and true category error response. That dictator's a human, God is the greatest of all possible beings, therefore there's no real comparison, yada yada yada. But what I intend to argue is that even this argument itself is meaningless as far as we as human beings are concerned, since all this argument does is pretty much take the burden of having to explain anything away from the believer and puts it on whatever it is that the believer believes in, which is the very thing that's in question to begin with. For example, let's say I came to you and said, hey, I just learned this new thing, it's called addition. And you say, wow, that's wonderful. Show me this addition, whatever it is. Then I'd start saying, okay, you know what numbers are, right? You go, of course I do. Okay, well, here's what addition is. 2 plus 2 is 4. 5 plus 5 is 10. 23 plus 22 is 45. And I go on and on for a long time, giving you a long list of summations. And you go, wow, that's amazing. But then you pause for a second and then ask me, well, wait a minute. How does 2 plus 2 equals 4? And at this point, all I could say is, well, 2 plus 2 equals 4. It just does. But obviously this is not satisfactory. But you continue asking me, how do you know? How do you know? And then finally I say, okay, look. There's this wonderful, great mathematician who told me 2 plus 2 equals 4. And he is the greatest of all mathematicians. He knows math through and through. And he's telling me 2 plus 2 equals 4. So, unless you are the greatest of all mathematicians, which clearly you cannot be, for if you were, you would know why 2 plus 2 equals 4, then, as far as I'm concerned, 2 plus 2 equals 4. At this point, if you were rational, you then ask or press the point and go, well, wait a minute. If you have no idea how 2 plus 2 equals 4, meaning you yourself are not even close to being a mathematician, how exactly can you then make the claim that this individual, whoever he is the greatest mathematician? Thus, my claim that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and even my claim that this individual I talk to, the greatest mathematician, is rendered meaningless, because when pressed on how exactly 2 plus 2 equals 4, I have no idea. Similarly, when Veritas was pressed by John Armstrong in terms of how exactly is the way the God of the Bible runs things moral, and he replied with,
God is the greatest possible being. And part of being the greatest possible being is being morally perfect, being the standard of good, being the paradigm of virtue.
All he is doing is revealing his own lack of knowledge on the very topic he claims to know, morality, thus rendering his claim utterly meaningless. Even his claim that God has perfect morality.
Remember that you simply asked me what the difference was between this guy, Big Brother, and my conception of God.
Perhaps, but as I have shown, hopefully, this is a meaningless difference because it ultimately relies on your lack of knowledge on the topic rather than any real positive knowledge on the topic.
Bon voyage!